calling the meeting to order, a special and regular meeting of the City Council.
Recording in progress.
For November 12th, 2024. Closed session, never mind. Call to order, please. I did that. Wow, I was going to do this right today. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bowles. Here. Councilmember Big Stick.
Present.
Councilmember Beer.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Beckmeyer.
Present.
Mayor Vaterlast.
Here. And I'm going to read the land acknowledgement. The City of Pacifica acknowledges that we occupy the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone people, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. We honor the Ramaytush Ohlone for their enduring commitment to Mother Earth as the indigenous protectors of this land, and in accordance with their tradition, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as the caretakers of this place, as well as for all people who reside in their traditional territory. We affirm their sovereign rights as First People and wish to pay our respects to the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush Ohlone people. And we were going to have the American Legion here to do the flag, but since they're not in attendance, we will rise and do the flag together. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And City Attorney, do we have a closed session report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There is no reportable action this evening.
Thank you. And our first item is a proclamation, which, hold on just a sec. This is a proclamation of the City of Pacifica in recognition of Frank Erbacher. Whereas the City of Pacifica recognizes the individual contributions of dedicated individuals who serve on public commissions, and whereas Commissioner Frank Erbacher has demonstrated exceptional commitment to public safety and emergency preparedness over his long tenure. And whereas Commissioner Frank Erbacher was appointed to the Disaster Preparedness Commission on February 25th, 1991. Glasses will help. Marking the beginning of his significant involvement in promoting community safety. And whereas on October 22nd, 1996, he was appointed to the Health and Safety Commission, where he continued to advocate for the well-being of our community. And whereas with the enthusiasm of the Emergency Preparedness and Safety Commission by Pacifica Ordinance 687-CS, on May 29, 2001, his expertise and leadership transitioned seamlessly into this new commission, ensuring a strong foundation for emergency preparedness in our city. And whereas Commissioner Frank Erbacher is also a longtime member of the Coastside Amateur Radio Club, utilizing his skills and passion for communication to enhance community safety and emergency response capabilities. And whereas through his service, Commissioner Frank Erbacher has exemplified dedication, professionalism, and a deep concern for the safety and preparedness of our community. And whereas Frank Erbacher's extensive experience and unwavering commitment have made a lasting impact on the effectiveness of emergency response system, now, therefore, I, Sue Vaterlast, on behalf of the City Council of the City of Pacifica and all of its citizens, do hereby honor and pay tribute to Frank Erbacher and thank him for his more than 30 years of public service and wish him happiness and success in his future endeavors. Done this 12th day of November, 2024.
Thank you very much. I am here because others were very instrumental in helping the city. One of them was Roger Spindler, who was a Emergency Preparedness and Safety Commission member. He was a Korean War veteran, shot up and everything else like that. And he said, Frank, I am too old to do this. You have to go take it. So I saluted, came to the commission. They said, good, sit down. So I want to thank that. The other thing is I want to remember him in his efforts to get amateur radio communications on Montera Mountain through a friend of his that he did work with an oil company that had a lot of repeaters up there. And therefore, with that effort, he now has amateur radio repeaters allowed up there. And so we get communication up and down the coast and over the hill and so on, all for emergencies. Oh, we use it regularly, but for emergencies. So thank you, Roger.
Wait. Stay there. Frank, stay back up there. And council, let's have comments from the public.
Oh, is he public?
I'll keep it brief. Honorable Mayor and council members, my name is Chris Clements. I'm your captain of the Pacifica Police Department and staff liaison up until recently for the Emergency Preparedness and Safety Commission. I had the honor of meeting Frank in 2016 when I became the staff liaison. He brought a breadth of experience. His professional experience as a civil engineer was really, really impactful to some of the things that we were looking at. And more so just Frank's presence on the commission. Him and his wife have made Pacifica their home for almost 50 years. And he really is passionate about our community. In fact, he was just talking about how he goes out there and cleans up the community on his daily walks because he's that passionate. So we're certainly going to miss his passion. Hopefully he'll still come to some of our meetings. And I think there's one more person that wanted to come up here and say a few words. If I can invite our vice chair up to here, Mr. Blackburn.
Madam Mayor, members of the Commission, Gregor Blackburn, Vice Chair of the Emergency Preparedness and Safety Commission. I would like to thank you for the proclamation. I don't think there are many thanks that could be heaped on Frank. That would be enough or appropriate for all the work that he has done. As Captain Clements has said, the amount of work that he does, the knowledge and the breadth of experience that he brings has been helpful for new people that have come on board. And the way he pitches in and helps within the commission and outside of it. From the microcosm just for FogFest, for instance, the amount of work that he does between the amateur radio and the commission that has a booth there, it's just amazing. And we are very grateful and thankful for his work and his efforts. Frank, thanks again. And you'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you. And then council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had the honor of serving as the liaison with emergency preparedness my first 2 years on council, and therefore I had the distinct pleasure of getting to be in the room with Mr. Erbacher accordingly. Gregor's right, there are not enough thanks that can be heaped upon you, and merely that your passion shows through to help our community to become a safer, healthier, happier place. Thank you so much for well over 3 decades of service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Frank, thank you so much for all that you've done. I first met you through FogFest, and I remember, who's that nice man who gave me the radio? And it was before I even knew Barbara, I think, or didn't connect the two of you yet in my mind. It was so many years ago. And since then, it's just been such a pleasure to spend some more time with you socially and to have that ongoing touch point through FogFest. I'm the next amateur radio novice coming in the door. I want you to know I've been so dying to learn this for years. So it's, working it into the schedule has been the challenge. But I really just want to acknowledge you for you talking about who led you. And I want you to know that you have led so many more, and they will always look up to you and appreciate your leadership in this area. So thank you so much on behalf of our whole community.
Thank you very much. That's very kind, very kind.
I have the joy of serving with you now in these last 2 years. And I know how dedicated you are because if I remember right, you're not allowed to drive and you've been walking to our meetings even sometimes. I'm just now learning that you're a civil engineer, but that really shows the experience and the knowledge that you bring to the commission and the forward thinking on technical issues as we're delving into, how to make our community safer. But I also want to say, I really appreciate your humor. Sometimes these are, difficult, serious subjects, but I don't know, you bring a lightheartedness to the meetings too that make the work fun. And I mean, for you to have been there over 30 years, and I know, gosh, Deborah, and some of you out there have been there for decades also. And that's not possible unless you have a good team of people. And just thank you for being part of that team and helping us all be safer all these years.
Well, thank you, and my wife thanks you for taking me away from her so I could get some peace.
Mr. Erbacher, don't go away. Please don't go away.
Good rubber bands here.
Good evening. I also sat on the Emergency Preparedness Committee when it was my very first year in council, and I had no idea what I was doing, like none. And I looked to you to learn really what a commission is supposed to be and how commissioners are supposed to act and how they give back to our communities. And that is what you taught me, whether you know that or not. And so I want to thank you so much for that. I also want you to know that your family has been a blessing in my life for a very, very long time. I got to work with Barbara doing some housing work, and it was wonderful to get to know you that way, Barbara. And then your beautiful daughter, Robin, who is our very own rocket scientist. That's what our graduating class of 1986 Terra Nova Tigers like to say. We are all so proud of Robin, so proud of her. But she comes from both of you, and it really shows. So thank you so much for everything you've done for our community and for really showing me what it means to be a commissioner. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you. I only attended 2 emergency preparedness meetings because usually I'm in something else that night. But I remember talking to you when you were with Pia.
Oh,
And we were, yeah, a long time ago. We were arguing, which is just fine, right? I mean, we both had a strong opinion, and I appreciate that in people. So thank you very much for your 30 years of service. It couldn't go without recognition. And now we'll come down and take a picture.
Yes, for anyone else.
Everybody else too.
No one on the phone?
Oh, yeah.
I did ask if the public wanted to make any comments, or I should have said anyone in attendance. And those people spoke, so I will bring it back to council, and now we'll go to the picture. Do it right.
And we'll bring up the other.
I want to.
Split my second to last week.
Oh, you're fine.
And then all of them should have other people. Okay, so thank you, and we're going to move on to the consent calendar. Council members, do you wish to pull anything from consent?
I don't want to pull anything, but I do want to make a request on item 6.
Okay, go ahead.
So I know that this is our quarterly financial report in the specific regard to the utility users tax. There was reference in the staff report about more research is needed, and I just want to make sure we're doing that research. Is that already an assigned item that we're going to look into this and figure out with PG&E what's going on with these numbers?
Yes, we do intend to look into that. If the council would like more details about that, I can ask Assistant City Manager Carter to speak to that, but it is something that's on our radar.
Yeah, just maybe when you figure it out,
Yeah.
circle back with us. That would be great.
Great, thanks.
I also have a comment on item 7.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to thank the Pacifica Police Department, and I know that our chief of police is really good at like going out and getting funding, so I'm really impressed, and I'm so happy to see this work. It's the tobacco work, so it's for enforcement and educational activities regarding tobacco sales. And so thank you so much for doing this work. It's really important, and that's all I'm going to say tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
Public comment?
I actually was going to get to that one.
Okay, all right.
Are there any comments from the public on the consent calendar? Is there anyone on the phone? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council. And would someone, Tiger,
I move approval of consent.
I second.
please vote.
And with the motion to approve the consent calendar made by Councilmember Big Stick and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Beckmeyer, the vote passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to public comment. Public comments are for items not on the agenda. Please limit your items to that. Sorry, I'm looking, I have a card. Okay. We have one yellow card. Is Guerra and Banjo Ricardo in here waiting to speak? No.
Yes, I don't see Mr. Guerrero in the audience. I think he's
Okay.
left.
Okay, thank you. All right, then, any other comments? Then we will close the public comment and bring it back to council for council communication.
That's the first time I've ever seen that happen.
I know.
Oh, there hasn't been any public comment.
There's nobody
And
on.
nobody on the phone?
No, I asked.
Oh, sorry, I was not
Wow.
listening.
It's amazing.
Okay, council communications.
Council meeting.
Go ahead, Tiger. Go for it.
Happy Veterans Day, first of all. That was yesterday, but still, this is our opportunity. I went to exactly 2 things between the last council meeting and this one. I attended the library Joint Powers Authority meeting. Bittersweet, as it will be my last library JPA meeting. It was regarding strategic planning. There's a strategic plan that looks poised for adoption by the library JPA, and it looks good.
Good.
Aside from that, Anna Eshu, some folks at the NASA Ames
Oh, yeah.
Research Center at Moffett Field held a lunch in honor of her and some tours accordingly. of that giant hangar that you may or may not see from Highway 1 as you're going south, and the new Moffett Field Museum down there. It was great to have that opportunity to honor our Congresswoman. It was also great to explore a really cool area of the Bay Area that I normally would not have the opportunity to explore. As a part of the tour of the Moffett Field Museum, they created these challenge coins in honor of Congresswoman Eshoo. There's a star for each of her 16 terms, and the seal of United States, and then a picture of the hangar. My understanding is that before coming to Pacifica, our city manager actually did some work in terms of making sure we have that Moffett Field Hangar 1 area, and alongside our Congresswoman. And so that may be a story to tell in a couple of weeks' time or so if you don't want to tell it tonight. But I did want to, I picked up an extra one of these challenge coins and wanted to give you one of them because of that work that you did. And so I'm giving this to you right now.
Hey, that's nice. Nice.
So thank you not just for the work you constantly do for Pacifica, but the work you've been doing long before you got from here to Pacifica. So thank you.
I had the opportunity to get away for some post-Fogfest R&R. More importantly, to take John Beckmeyer away for some post-Fogfest R&R. And the consequence of that was that I missed planting the latest beautiful tree, Olivia. You can tell about that. At the Tree City Pacifica Arbor Day celebration, but I can say that the students at Miss McCabe's 5th grade at Cabrillo School are beside themselves because a number of them won accolades for their art submitted through the art competition. So they're very excited. I had the chance to speak with the Boy Scouts last Monday night, and I'm getting better at it, but I won't go way too long. Can you imagine? And because I really always try to kind of go Washington, state level, county level, local level. And, besides how did I get involved in city government, what is it relative to other forms of government that they know about? So that was some really insightful questions. It was a great opportunity. And then one thing I always like to highlight, if anyone ever has a chance, are Pacificans, Hardy and Listen, who live in Shelter Cove, are the company, the troupe known as Earthcapades. And Earthcapades they have a contract with BOSCA, which is Bay Area Water something, something, something. And they do assemblies at schools all around the Bay Area and develop a curriculum-based information about the water cycle and about where our fresh drinking water comes from, how it gets to us, but they weave in so much interesting science with sign language, with juggling and singing, and it's just beautiful, and so the kids are totally engaged, and they came and did their assembly at our school last Wednesday, and I just love it. The kids are so rapt, so that was just super neat to see and to be part of a little bit. Outside of that, a couple of meetings on local government working group related, getting ready for next steps. What are the next steps? Because, we've developed this basic concept of neighborhood approach, but what does it even mean, and what might it look like, and how do we move beyond naming something to helping communities define what it might look like for them. So we're talking about what are the next steps toward that, discussion about creating a checklist or some kind of guidance specifically about including nature-based adaptations in the adaptation planning process. So the NOAA training that I'm sure you're going to talk about is so perfectly timed. It's really kind of aligning really well. So that was exciting. And that's pretty much it. Oh, I got to go to a fun, Skyline College did a reception in the art gallery that I never even knew they had. So that was fun. And it was the President's Council, you know, the breakfast that we went to, it was like a thank you for that. And it was fun. It was just a great little extra thing to do. Ran into a few, I think, a few different council members from around the county were there. So that was nice. And that's me for the last couple of weeks.
Oh, sure, I'll go. Yeah, I want to know more about the NOAA training, too. Okay, good. Because I feel like I was looking at a date. I don't know. You'll fill me in. Yeah, so I also want to thank Tree City Pacifica for our Arbor Day. It was really a beautiful day, and we got to plant an olive tree, so we named her Olivia. It's very cute. But where would we be without Tree City Pacifica, right? And so thank you so much for all of that. And I do want to shout out to our Park, Beach, and Recreation Director, Scott Leslie. I feel like I really got to know a little bit more about you when you got up and you spoke at Arbor Day, so I'm hoping to hear more and more and more, because I don't know, you were just shiny that day, and so I just really appreciate you. And you know, there was an election and stuff, and so I think that was, you know, a big roller coaster. We had a roller coaster experience, and so one thing I want to do is thank all the candidates. I know the election hasn't been called yet, but I want to thank all the candidates for showing up and being willing to serve. I also want to thank all of the folks that attended the Pacifica Collaborative a couple days after the election, because we had an opportunity to do some mindfulness exercises with Melissa Ambrose, who is our wellness coordinator for Jefferson Union High School District. And there was about 25 people at the collaborative this month, and I looked around the room, and everybody was just was into the mindfulness exercise, and it just made me feel really good, like I was able to create an environment where folks could come and share with each other, but also to kind of rest. And so, yeah, thank you for all of that. I also want to thank the library for having ornament making. So I made an ornament. I love doing all the little art things at the library, and we painted these little birds on ornaments, and I am not a bird painter. Mine look like a cartoon character. Like, I can paint a mandala, but I certainly can't paint a bird. So thanks to the library for giving us something fun to do, because we need that.
Just with Arbor Day, I want to thank John Mullins, too, and his family. We got to plant trees with his daughters and son-in-law, who did really the heavy lifting for us and heavy digging. But it was really fun to get to know your family that is, you know, grown up around here as well. And it was a fun day. Thank you, Scott, and Tree City Pacifica, too. Yes, so this NOAA presentation that we've been talking about for a little bit is happening next week. So the official announcement and invitation went out to the general public and Connect with Pacifica on Friday. So this is a two half-day workshop next Wednesday and Thursday. We're only allowed to host 30 people because NOAA runs these meetings. They're going to be online on Zoom, but they have breakout sessions, and they really want small breakout sessions so everyone can be really engaged and thoughtful about the material and generating ideas and thoughts about how to move forward too. So the first day, the 20th, is talking about vulnerabilities, talking about data and science and helping us think about what areas are vulnerable. What does it mean to be vulnerable? What kind of tools do you need to assess a vulnerability, prioritize them, et cetera. And then the second day will be about adaptation and starting to think a little bit beyond the box, and other tools. We'll be introduced to some NOAA online tools too. And also as part of that workshop, we had an opportunity to bring in a guest speaker, and I'm really excited, and thanks to Sue Beckmeyer for pointing to the particular person, but I've forgotten her last name, Kelsey Ducklow from the Coastal Commission will be joining us, because as you know, the Coastal Commission right now is doing updated policy guidance on sea level rise. And that includes updated science, includes a whole environmental justice element, thinking about the vulnerable communities in our community, but also people that might come from other communities and what their needs are here. And then also incorporating SB 272 guidance, which is really about starting to look at specific adaptation and identifying specific projects. So their time in presentation is short, but it's to kind of give us an idea of, okay, this is where we are in our LCP, but this is where we need to go, and the work that we'll be starting soon and working on for a few years to help us create this vision for our coast. So I think we're pretty full for the session next week, but we're taking a wait list too, so please look and connect with Pacifica. We're starting a wait list. It'll be really easy to do a second session early next year if there's interest. And then the goal is to do after that, so you're giving everyone the same language and tools, and then we can start to really look at nature-based solutions a little bit more. Sorry, we have a little disruption in our chambers.
We're going to take a 5-minute recess.
Okay.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Me and my dog are being violated
Mr. Guerrero,
online.
you need to speak into the
We're being
microphone, Mr.
violated
Guerrero.
online. I've had this case with people stealing my dogs. I've done everything in my power to contact any one of you guys, but I can't get past your secretaries. I wrote letters, can't get past the secretaries. All right? I have right here in front of me a PC 242, Class A misdemeanor. Cyber stalking, $10,000 fine, 12 years in prison. Criminal threats, Class A misdemeanor, and a felony, right? Specialty U.S., which means a federal crime. I'm getting cyber attacked. I'm getting beat up, literally, because somebody put my name on there saying that I beat my dogs. The same people who did this to me stole my dogs. There is no civil duty of compliance here when it comes to Ricardo Guerra and what I've been trying to do. I have 8,000 pages of proof of the thieves, the dog thieves in this town, who have dogged me, had me assaulted in the last 3 days. I've had 4 interactions with police, 3 different case numbers. I've been thrown out of my house for false allegations. What is it that you guys want me to do to get my rights back? Because I can't talk to any of you because your secretaries won't let me pass the front door, and I'm too good to speak to her because I'm already a loser. The reason I was outside and I wasn't here, because I was promised by her and the two officers that were here that I was going to have my turn to talk. Her and her that called me a liar, I shouldn't accept that and you shouldn't accept it either. I was getting beat up over here with brass knuckles. They're literally coming after my dog, grabbing him off the leash. At the same time, they're trying to hit me with brass knuckles. And nothing has been done. I've been to these cops 100 times. And to me, there's a difference between a cop and a police officer. A police officer does his due diligence and makes sure that I'm okay, which they do have in the department. But this right here, calling me a liar, her calling me a liar, again and again, this is why I can't get to the truth, because nobody's ready for it.
Please don't direct your comments to individuals.
I have enough proof to strike an investigation, and that's what I want. I want my dogs back because they're service dogs. Holly Smiley stole them. I have her in a civil court right now, where they're throwing everything but the kitchen sink at me, and I'm doing this by myself. They just made me homeless over some stuff that had nothing to do with me. So now we're homeless again and getting attacked. And attacked, and the police officers here don't do anything.
3.
They try to do nothing to help me because they're questioning me every time.
Thank you very much. We give 3 minutes, and we are not allowed to respond to what you had to say. But thank you for getting up. Thank you for getting up. I will I'll close the public comment section again and bring it back to council to finish council communications. Thank you.
I'll continue, but I just want to say I'm happy to talk to you. Okay, so I think I finished it with Noah, and then Saturday I ended up attending an online first session of the California Association of Youth Commissioners. This was organized by some students in the town of Hillsborough who are looking to do partnerships with other commissions statewide, partly to learn best practices and share information, but also to brainstorm how to be more effective in affecting policy at the county and state level. So there were some great presentations by and guest speakers. Jackie Spear spoke and talked about how she first started public service, volunteering at age 16, and really how that was the impetus to her career in the political realm. And then Sam Liccardo spoke also, again, just really inspirational to the students. And it was really powerful, I think, coming after the election, and yet still showing that there's hope and how important these youth voices are. And how needed they are in our councils and, as part of city government. So the session was taped, and I'll make sure that gets shared with our group too, but that was really a fantastic day.
Councilmember Bowles, were any of our youth leadership in attendance?
Not that I know of. I didn't recognize the names, but I had forwarded it to, I had only got the invitation late last week, and I forwarded it to Mary and Scott. So I'm not sure that they, were able to get the word out in time to our youth, but.
That was going to be my next question, whether or not you coordinated with Director Leslie to see to it that it's on our radar. Thank you.
Well, thanks for letting us know there's a recording so we can share that out when
Yeah.
it's available.
Yeah. That's all. Thank you.
And speaking of students, I had interesting conversations with at least 4 students calling to ask. They're doing debates on the propositions, and they wanted to know my opinion on various propositions. And it was fun, because I just said what I feel on each one. One of them, I actually made a mistake. So it was about the minimum wage. and who was going to be not included in that, and that was interesting. So I read some more. So that was really interesting. I attended the employee Halloween party, which is always fun because it's nice to see everyone having a good time and being together. They have contests on costumes, they have pumpkin carving contests, and it's just overall fun. And that's great for everyone involved, for the staff. I went to the tree planting, of course, and we planted Olivia. I took like 3 whopping shovelfuls, but whatever, it wasn't enough.
Impressive, given the state of your wing.
No, she got in there with a shovel and actually shoveled out dirt, like.
Well, I also went with Sue Beckmeyer to the Chamber Awards, where Mike O'Neill got an award for Spirit. The Merchants Association on Palmetto,
Seaside Merchants Association.
Seaside Merchants Association got an award. Dr. Shu, Dave Zito for the bowling alley, and self-storage. And that was a nice event, very small from in the past, but a good event. I attended 2 different election parties, which were good. Look at all this positive stuff. I went to the St. Peter's Boutique, and it's nice to see people from Pacifica hand-making items and selling them and just, again, having a good time. I talked to various public about the short-term rentals, and tonight is the Fairmont Homeowners Association, so I couldn't be there. So I spent a good amount of time talking to the president of the Fairmont Homeowners Association. Excuse me. Because people don't always directly pay attention to what we're doing unless it involves them. And when I started telling him things about the housing element, he was quite surprised. So he will now educate the Fairmont Homeowners Association about what we have in our housing element. Great. So it was probably better than being there in person. So thank you. And is that it?
I have one question. Speaking of fun things, they announced the tree lighting date, and I know you're always involved with that.
Tree lighting, December 1st, starts at 4. Santa's going to come in on the old fire truck, and then we have a lovely elf that hangs out with Santa to try to protect him because people in Santa costumes apparently attract women.
Draw a crowd.
And so that's always a great fun event. The kids get to do crafts, and they did stuff like make slime, paint plates, and there's usually food trucks, and there are booths for people selling items. December 1st in Rockaway.
Will there be eggnog anywhere in the vicinity?
There might be eggnog there too. Just eggnog.
Very good.
So in case you need to warm yourself up a little bit.
I like eggnog.
Okay. That's it for me. Thank you. And now to staff communications.
Thank you, Mayor Vardalos. Council members, Kevin Woodhouse, City Manager. Just a couple brief communications. One, with Mr. Erbacher's recognition earlier, it reminded me that we like to periodically remind folks, and as we're on the verge of winter and rain and storms, for residents who haven't already signed up to sign up for SMC Alert. It's a great notification system to ping your phone directly. You can select really what it is or a region that you want to be notified about. For example, this week, the Tom Lantos Tunnel is closing, and I imagine there probably will be an SMC alert about it. Caltrans already has stuff out on the road signs. But just came to mind as another opportunity to really encourage folks to sign up for SMC Alert. And links to it are available on the city's website, but you can also just search directly, Google that.
While you're on the subject, I'm aware that we're due for some king tides the 15th through the 17th. I imagine SMC Alerts might bring that up also, but a friendly reminder to our locals to maybe stay clear of Beach Boulevard or stay clear of close to the shoreline between the 15th and the 17th especially. The waves are already looking pretty large and volatile, and it's going to get a little larger shortly.
Yeah, thank you for that reminder. It is true that during king tides and large wave activities, oftentimes folks are tempted to come to Beach Boulevard, to the promenade, to observe them, but that makes some of the traffic control and dangers, just things more dangerous. So we discourage folks from doing that. The other item I wanted to announce is kind of a fun one. As we're settling into the new Civic Center, we have been able to restart school tours, and Deputy City Clerk Emily Law has participated along with Executive Assistant Jenny Kenway in leading school tours for, I think, 2 tours from Ocean Shore class, right? And we have coming up a different tour. I think it's a class of 8th graders are touring, so that's a little bit more involved, and they're planning some great tour of Civic Center, but then they're going to come down to the council chambers and I think do kind of a mock meeting session as a learning opportunity. So it's a fun way to use the Civic Center as a learning tool to show it off, and it's great. So thank you to Deputy City Clerk Law. And finally, I also wanted to just mention that we have a number of new employees that are coming on board, and through December, we'll have some more, and periodically, haven't done it for a little while, but probably in the January timeframe, I'd like to do a little special presentation where new employees that are available come to a council meeting, we introduce them, and when we have a set of a number that would be good to do. So I look forward to being able to publicly introduce all these employees. Thank you.
Through the mayor.
Yes.
It occurs to me that the school district's having a groundbreaking at the former Odset Elementary site on the 18th.
Oh, God.
And that might be a good one to alert everyone to.
And the time, yeah. Odstead School on the 18th.
4 o'clock.
At 4 o'clock is the groundbreaking for the new school district housing. And it would, if anyone can be there, it's really going to be a special thing. And we've been looking forward to it for, 10 years. 10 years.
And also they were concerned because they hadn't heard from any of us, so I let them know that we were all coming.
Oh.
Yeah, they're like, well, we don't know. No one's responded. I'm like, no, we actually, we're all going to be there. So,
I know I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going.
Everybody?
I
Yeah.
plan on being
City
there. I don't
manager
recall
told
seeing a
me he's
property map.
coming.
Yeah.
And anyone else who wants to come should
Yeah.
come.
I'm going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone
Thank
has
you,
to
Mary,
take
for
me, but,
reinforcing that.
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you. Okay, that, we're done with staff communications. On to public hearings. City manager, do you have a comment on item number 8?
Yes, for item number 8, the announcement is that the appellants have withdrawn this appeal. Therefore, there is no public hearing that will be held and no action is necessary.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to item number 9. And this is for consideration, resolutions to repeal and replace Administrative Policy Number 3, regulations for use of city council chambers, with new policy entitled Public Use of Community Center, Civic Center, and City Council Chambers. And I'm just going to finish. And amend Administrative Policy Number 2, City Fees and Charges, Master Fee Schedule, and to add fees related to the use of the Community Center, Civic Center, and City Council Chambers.
There you go. Good evening, Mayor Vardalos, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council members. I'm Scott Leslie. I am Director of Park, Beaches, and Recreation. And tonight we're here to talk about public use of the Community Center, Civic Center, and City Council chambers. So, there you go. There we go. All right. So we're interested in updating this policy. And the reason that we're doing that is the existing policy dates back to September of 1981 and exclusively addresses the city council chambers, the chambers that we're in right now. The policy and procedures are now outdated and do not address the broader scope of public usage or potential usage. Additionally, as we all know, the city has recently opened a new civic center to the public. Part of that project included a large conference room and a small conference room. And as part of the planning design of that, the idea was to offer that to the public when it was not in use for municipal purposes. And lastly, the community center currently has departmental policies for community use, but they are not under a comprehensive citywide policy. So we thought this was the timing to perhaps connect all three together. So the department went out and decided to do a regional survey, and Recreation Supervisor Amber Shong will speak to that process.
Hello and good evening. So regional survey Parks, Beaches, and Recreation conducted a regional survey of neighboring cities. During this process, we reviewed policies, guidelines, and rules at about a little over 12 or a dozen neighboring cities, compared each city rental classification, evaluated similar rental spaces such as conference rooms, community centers, public buildings, community halls. Survey findings showed rental offerings varied across the cities, many with overarching policies which shared common themes such as broadly structured, framework that allows staff to manage details, including adjusting rules and guidelines as needed, which this was a very common approach across the board throughout the cities that we surveyed.
You got it.
Did I? Mm-hmm. Okay. You were going to say something in between. No. Okay. Priority-based system. We updated our policy, introduces a new priority-based system for reservations and fees. This is just a simple grid breakdown of the priority groups. Group 1 is municipal use, which includes city council, commissions, committees, city staff, businesses, and city-sponsored classes, programs, public meetings, and community events. Reservation time for this, they can reserve the space at any time. Group 2 is Pacifica residents and businesses. This applies to individuals, businesses, or organizations based in the city of Pacifica. Businesses must possess a current business license. P.O. boxes are excluded. And their reservation timeline is 9 months in advance. Group 3 is local nonprofit organizations. Pacifica, which is Pacifica-based nonprofits and organizations serving the city of Pacifica community with a 501c3. Reservation timeline is, again, 9 months in advance. For Group 4, non-residents and non-local organizations, which includes individuals, businesses, nonprofits, or organizations based outside of the city of Pacifica. Reservation timeline will be 3 months in advance.
Sorry.
I was just going to, do you mind if I ask a question real quick? Is that okay, through the mayor? So when you say 9 months in advance, what does that mean? Does that mean I can do, like, I can schedule 9 meetings, like, once a month for 9 months? How does that work?
It means that that an applicant can apply for a meeting 9 months from now. So Pacifica residents and businesses and nonprofits right now could do 9 months in advance. I'm not really good at doing the math on that, but that's probably September, July, August, September. But that members, non-residents and non-local organizations could do it 3 months in advance. And municipal use can essentially reserve a space anytime. So. Just as a side comment to this, we did an internal audit of our current renters and rentals that we've had over the last few years and found that based on the proposed classifications, that about 80% are in Group 2, residents and businesses, and about 10% in Group 3 and Group 4. So the majority of people who rent our spaces, now this is the community center because that's really the only current public space that we're renting. One would assume that would be similar to all of the new space, the Council Chamber and the Civic Center, so it would be somewhat similar. Also, that while we have a classification for nonprofits, the reality is the vast majority of nonprofits that have rented or use our facilities are from in town. It's very hard to find an organization that is a nonprofit from out of town that has received or asked for a permit, or I should say, for a rental in the last 3 to 4 to 5 years. So it's mostly in town nonprofits. So the updated policy also establishes regulations for alcohol use within the facilities, explains the limitations of smoking at the rentals, prohibits political campaigning, and restricts religious services at the Civic Center and City Council chambers. The rental process will go through the Park Beach and Recreation Department, which will handle all applications, which will determine eligibility, manage the scheduling, and will process all the fees. In some cases, additional approval will be required by the city manager and/or city clerk to ensure that no official city meeting calendar conflicts. We don't want any conflicts. So, as part of the proposed policy, the city manager, city attorney, city clerk, and Park Beach and Recreation director would be authorized to establish rules and guidelines consistent with this policy, and that the city manager or their designee would hold final authority in cases of dispute. A very important element to this policy is that it gives us sort of the tent poles of what the rental system should be, and the individual more specific details would be worked out by city staff, which would then be, of course, be based on the overall concepts and overall framework of the policy.
Okay, user fees will be reviewed annually as part of the budget process during the update of the city's master fee schedule. Policy permits Civic Center conference room users the option to add the adjacent Civic Center Plaza Park for an additional $50 per hour. And the fees details for the groups are Group 1 municipal use. Fee details, there are no fees for this particular group. Group 2, Pacifica residents and businesses. Fee details is local discounts for residents and businesses. Group 3, which is local nonprofit organizations. Fee details, lowest fees for charitable groups who support the community of Pacifica. Group 4, non-resident and non-local organizations. Fee details, premium rate for non-resident and non-local entities.
So this is consistent with surrounding cities, and regionally we did look at this. There are some variations from different cities, but essentially the lowest rate tends to be nonprofits, then of course residents and or businesses, and then the last category in almost all situations was non-residents or non-local organizations, and it's actually fairly consistent with our current community center rental policy. All right. So there's a few adjustments from what has been proposed already, which is that after publication of the agenda, staff proposes to make the following edits to the policy on the fees. On page 176, we would like to take out the verbiage, weekend rates begin Friday at 1:30 through Sunday. The new, that was a leftover from the previous rental policy in the master fee schedule. And that now each individual section has the specific days for which those rates would occur. So Monday through Friday and Saturday and Sunday for the Civic Center and the Community Center, and the City Council Chambers is available Thursday through Sunday, and that's just one fees for all those days. They're considered all the same days. Another change is that on page 161, on page 161, unfortunately, there was some language left over from a previous edit that included city building attendant fees. All those fees are included in the overall hourly rate. So these particular areas we want to have excluded because that is the current system as it's built does not have extra costs for the building attendants. It's built into the rental fees. And just lastly, as a clarification, on page 203, there was incorrect non-resident weekday fees. It was just a copy and paste error. It did not affect the proposed fees, but it was, if you look at it, the fees that are on there are incorrect for the current fees. And these are, in fact, the current fees that were should have been on that page. So thank you, and we would like to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions? I would like to say that I did see that the tree fee in the master fee schedule was changed from $1,000 to $250. So I thought that we would get comments from Tree City about that.
Mayor Vadalos, the tree fee from 1,000 to 250 was changed with the budget approval.
Okay.
The master fee schedule that was approved. So what's
It's
in
been
the packet
there.
is not a change from what has been approved with the budget.
Okay.
We probably just hadn't seen it printed
probably
in your
just-
face. Yeah.
Yeah. Question? Tiger?
Got one. Out of the 11 that I asked over the weekend, there's just one lingering.
One lingering question.
Those were mine. I'm the reason for all your extra reading. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Just regarding policy number 8, maybe it was just written in such a way that it was counterintuitive to me while I was reading it. But and thank you for answering all of my questions. I appreciate that. The lingering question is, are we, I guess generally speaking, any normal fundraising activity that I've experienced through Pacificans Care or whomever has occurred on a weekend, not during normal business hours. But are we, the idea no fundraising activities are allowed during normal business hours, are we sure that there wouldn't be a circumstance in which one of our nonprofits or a nonprofit would want to use one of the spaces during business hours for fundraising?
So having read the question previously and answered, I did talk to staff and ask, is there been a time in recent memory? And we could not find one. My history with the department, I'm unaware of any specific circumstance where that would have occurred. I think that particularly with the policy, it was a concern that if we had admission fees at, particularly at the Civic Center, that there might be some confusion because the building needs to be available to the public to walk through, and we didn't want there to be any confusion that any fees would be required as part of entry into the facility, or that the use of the restrooms. It's a public facility during normal business hours, and then if it felt more natural. It also, to be clear, we did look into other municipalities and had very similar rules. So usually these rules are developed after an incident has occurred. It has not happened here, but that was the thinking behind that.
So that leads me to the other question that I did not ask over the weekend, which is simply, is there flexibility in this framework that if various circumstances come up that make us potentially have a reason to reevaluate things that may come up as common sense use that haven't been addressed in the framework, is there flexibility? It seems like final say runs with the city manager.
Yes.
And if such a circumstance were to arise, would you be bringing that back to council to reconfigure the policy a little later?
One of the things that we, again, having looked at and talked to a variety of staff members and people with other cities, is that's essentially how additional rules are brought in. A circumstance will come up and then a more permanent policy will be created because of that. Everything from decoration policies to noise level policies to parking policies. At this point, the way it is structured is it will be handled at a department level or at a city level, but if there was something of significance, we would definitely want to bring it back so it would be resolved and straightforward for future consideration. But yes, the city manager would have ultimate, or their designee would have the ultimate ability to make adjustments as needed, yes.
And so if something came up slightly outside of the framework, but it seemed relatively straightforward as there shouldn't be a problem with this, and yet it doesn't fit our policy, it would be escalated up, addressed accordingly, and then brought back for reconfiguration.
So in a lot of circumstances, like, this is fairly vague, but under Group 1, the municipal use, I could see, whether it be Parks and Recreation or the Economic Development Committee, there could be circumstances where they may sponsor a activity that would make it, co-sponsor, make it an official city business, in which case there could be, fees could be waived easily that way. And circumstances do come up like that. Like, for instance, we could use the Fog Fest Committee, the Economic Development, whether it be the department or whether it be the committee, could easily sponsor that and say, well, that makes sense for us to work with a group like that to have, some space for meetings.
I'm just kind of trying to come up with some off-the-wall example, but say somebody's having a wedding out front and they're like, oh, it's a small wedding and we'd love your council chambers for, the 20 guests we have, but we're asking 6 months in advance instead of 3 months in advance.
Well, I mean, as written, they would have to wait. If they were out of town, they have to wait
3 months.
until 3 months.
They would have to wait the 3 months.
This is a very general comment. Usually spaces are available 3 months out, except during the summer on the weekends, at the community center. I don't know at this point, we have no history with the Civic Center or the council chambers of the availability or what the interest would be. And perhaps as that develops, we could say, well, we may need to address this. But at this point, we generally have spaces now for people if they want to find public spaces for most of the year.
Thank you very much.
I have a couple questions about the issue of use and rental of the park area outside of the Civic Center. I didn't really think about that until I read the questions, the answers to the questions from council. And so I want to go over that just to make sure I understand. What I understand is there's not a way at this point for someone to rent the use of the park area between the two buildings, independent of renting a space inside the building.
That is correct, and it actually ties similarly with our other park processes. We don't rent spaces without restrooms. So if the building isn't open, there wouldn't be a restroom for people to use. So we wanted the option. It is a new opportunity where we're going to have an exterior space next to an interior space, so that's why we wanted to include it in the policy. Down the line, city department goals are to create another policy around outdoor spaces, but this is the one that crosses over both indoor and outdoor.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for clarifying that.
I had a couple of questions too. So talking about restroom use, and maybe this is in some of the policies that staff will be sorting out later, but like cleaning fees, and obviously if you have a small conference room versus, a wedding party here, are they responsible? How is that factored in?
So we actually deal with a lot of rentals or a lot of usage, public uses at the community center. They're required to clean up after themselves. And if they don't, there are consequences. So yes, it is the responsibility of the permittee or the user to clean up after themselves.
Okay, but we're providing paper products and so forth as part
Yes,
of the
yeah,
rental fee?
that's included.
Okay, and then I really appreciate that you've done the analysis with other cities, and I'm just curious if these fees also include a staff member, especially for the weekends for
Yes.
other cities?
Well, mostly yes. There's a little apples and oranges when we compare other cities because they have some other rules and that we can't incorporate. I mean, we chose the ones, we were trying to be specific to choose cities and spaces that were close enough we felt comfortable in comparing them. But yes, there are possibilities that there are additional fees that maybe weren't encompassed there. We tend to be lower. There isn't a rebate as far as I know, for those cities, so it may be more.
Okay. And then, except for Millbrae, which seems to charge more, it seems we're in line with the others that you've analyzed, except there was one, say on packet page 155, the large conference room seemed to be a good bit lower than the other cities, and I'm just, for weekdays in particular, I'm just wondering if that was intentional.
We try to be competitive with all of the ones that were there. We're the lowest. The exception for that one, off the top of my head, is I believe that our space is there. I think theirs is 36 capacity. Ours is 49, so ours is a larger space.
So should we be charging more instead of less?
Oh, wait, maybe I'm looking at the wrong one. Sorry, say that again. Page.
No, but that is what the numbers say. Packet
Yeah.
page 155.
Okay.
Yeah, it says the seating capacity of ours is 49. The others are 24 to 38. And then we're charging 55 versus about 100 on average.
Weekdays. It's weekdays. And so we have people in the building. Weekdays. That's why.
So again, there could be apples and oranges, slightly variations in some of the different spaces. In general, since I said this earlier, we've tended to have some available spaces. We've tried to keep these fees low so that we can get the spaces filled. And if they were to fill up and become very competitive, maybe we'd look at raising.
We
But
could
right now,
review
there is
those again.
spaces.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thanks.
On that note, when you say seating capacity 49, are you talking like classroom style, like the way the chairs are set here in this room right now in the audience?
So for other cities, again, it's how they define that. We did look at several locations, and in the very general terms, the best way we could say is seated would be, yes, seated like we have right now, and just general, sorry, like lecture, I don't know exactly what that means, but let's see here. We try to compare the seating capacity. It is, yes, like this, not with tables, yes.
Right.
That's correct,
Right.
sorry.
Okay.
I'm sure I understood your question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is everyone on council finished asking questions? Is there any comment from the public? I see none in the audience. Emily? None on the phone. We'll bring it back to council.
I just have a comment. Hi, Amber. It's nice to see you here tonight.
Thank you.
For someone who regularly rents spaces in facilities, I think these prices are super reasonable, and it makes me really happy to see that because it makes it more accessible and more equitable to the folks in our community. And it's not like we've had all these spaces, like we have the whole Civic Center, not like there's more spaces. And so I just want to thank you for all the work that you've done. I think it looks great. Anybody else?
Thank you.
I'll echo that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So do we need a motion?
Would someone
Yes.
like to make a motion, please?
We have to find it.
As soon as I find it, I would be happy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too.
Here it is.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sue.
I move that we adopt a resolution to repeal and replace Administrative Policy Number 3, Regulations for Use of City Council Chambers, with new policy entitled Public Use of the Community Center, Civic Center, and City Council Chambers, to allow public use of city-owned indoor facilities in accordance with established procedures and policies to ensure their proper use. And can we do it as one motion, or do we do two?
You can do it as one motion, but I was going to suggest that the maker of the motion add with the amendments that staff proposed.
With the amendments that staff proposed. And number two, adopt a resolution to
Bless you.
to amend Administrative Policy Number 2, City Fees and Charges, to update and include fees related to use of the Community Center, Civic Center, and City Council chambers with amendments that staff proposed.
I'll second.
Please vote.
Waiting for one more light to vote. Okay. And with item number 9, motion by Mayor Pro Tem Beckmeyer and second by Councilmember Beer, as amended by staff for items 1 and 2. That vote passes unanimously.
Nice.
Thank you. And amazingly, that's the last item on the agenda, and it's 8:32. Adjourned.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.